This podcast is brought to you by Primary Arms. Primary Arms seeks to provide the best shopping experience for everything firearms. With over 13,000 products from over 400 top brands, Primary Arms carries a complete selection of rifles, handguns, firearms parts, shooting gear, apparel, and more. Every order comes with a commitment to superior service, backed by fast shipping and an expert support team. Primary Arms, serving freedom since 2008. Find out more at frn.deals/PA. Welcome to the AR-15 podcast. This show is for you if you just bought your first rifle or if you've been building them for years. There is something we can all do to take our black rifles to the next level. My name is Nick Dooley, and I am joined, as always, by my co-hosts, Garth Ofer.
Howdy.
And Tyler Brockle.
What up?
How are you guys doing today?
No, not bad. It's going to be a little chilly again. I think we're due for more snow, it sounds like. So, yeah, this whole winter is never going to end, I think.
Well, we'll see. I've seen that going a couple different ways, and I'm not gonna give up on this warming trend yet.
I don't know. It's plenty cold. I was trying to snow before I got home tonight, so.
I'm spending 1 week this month in Texas and 1 week this month in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I can't freaking wait.
Let's be warm.
So how are you guys doing? Obviously, we know Garth is sick of the cold.
Yeah.
Tyler, how have you been doing since we checked in with you last?
Man, I can't even remember what the hell I did in the last week. I'm now to that age. Like, it's all blurring together in my mundane, middle-aged, boring person life. But got to do a build class, put on a build class. So that was pretty fun. It was about the only thing I did in firearms this week. Had a couple of guys come in and these guys have been shooting for a really, really long time. They had never built their own AR-15, and so came in and they actually assembled their own from the ground up. So it's always pretty fun to bring people in like that, especially who are more advanced the shooting portion, but not necessarily the dare I say armorers portion. So,
yes,
good time.
Garth, did you do anything?
No, more dart stuff. A whole weekend full of darts again, and then we'll take a little bit of a break and then bring it back. Everyone's having their end of the year parties right now, so that's all I'm doing. I'm consuming my weekends with darts right now, waiting for it to get warm out so we can go shooting.
I see.
The life of a power athlete.
Yeah, dude, you have no idea how intense darts can be. Okay.
Well, I played darts against Garth at the bar, and I'm thinking, okay, this is gonna be just your normal fucking redneck couple of dudes just shooting darts. He's a fucking pro, man. Like, made me look like a little bitch.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. You can see my championship back there for reasons.
I'm surprised you don't wear that, like, to the bar. Your big old champion belt.
He would, but the sizing's off.
just a smidge.
We'll just get some 550 cord and just attach the two ends on the back.
No, so I actually did go out and do a little shooting this weekend.
You badass.
And it wasn't a lot. Like, I didn't even put 20 rounds through, but I did do a little bit. So I zeroed an optic, and when I say zeroed, it's like using that term very lightly.
Rechecked it, maybe?
No, it was a brand new scope, a brand new optic that I had not ever shot before, and I put it on my 308, and I said, I will have to go out and try this. So it was, on one of my 308 ARs, and I zeroed it. Oh, I shouldn't say I zeroed it. I got it. I shot groups at 50 meters. So I did a grouping exercise at 50 meters. I didn't zero it because that's not where I'm going to zero that rifle at. Although, like, I could do the math right now and find out, like, what the secondary zero of that would be. And, like, if I did zero it at 50 and tell you where where it would actually be properly zeroed at.
Right on.
And I went out and did that, and that was enjoyable. I really did like the optic. I only zeroed one of the optics I had on that rifle.
Are you going to be taking that one to toxic masculinity?
Well, I mean, it might come along with the one. I'm probably going to shoot the 6.5 while I'm at that,
Okay.
because I am really looking forward to going a mile, and 6.5 is going to be a little bit easier to do that with than the 308.
Oh, for sure.
And that's a just one of those things where I like having that, and that's got my medium, what I'm calling my medium variable or medium power variable optic scope, and it's a 4-20, so it's really medium. It's extra medium, if you will.
Sure. Yeah. No, maybe might have to go out and venture and see John Wick 4 this week, and then maybe I'll be a little bit more apt to do a few more gun things.
That is true. We might have to go do that since it is out. There is one other thing. We would be remiss if we didn't say that, thoughts and prayers on everyone on the tragedy in Nashville today. Thoughts and prayers is a terrible thing to say because people don't always mean it. So I don't like saying it a lot of times, but our hearts do go out to those people. And remember that it always comes down to the individual using something, never what is actually being used. So there are bad, evil, crazy people in the world that will do bad, evil, and crazy things. And I will get off my soapbox now.
Fair.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's all that needs to be said.
Yes. So speaking of saying,
yeah,
as we go through, I know that I've talked to a handful of guys, and Garth, you said you had an interesting conversation with your dad. And it was after we had talked about this, or like what we were going to do for this episode. And when people read this, they're like, oh, if you look at the title of this show, we called it the Glossary episode. And how much fun is it going to be to sit and listen to us go through definitions of things and what they are?
probably not a lot of fun, but you know what? A lot of guys want to hear it because sometimes we go out into the weeds a little bit too much, I think, and it's a good idea just to bring it back and just remember all the terminology and exactly what everything is. So when we start rambling, well, let me rephrase this. When you, Nick, start rambling, people know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, it's there is a like obviously this is a very specialized kind of conversation, and there's acronyms and alphabets that go in with that. And when those things start going in, and they start having, I'm sorry, I got distracted by reading a comment here, because as we are not the 320 show, we always have our 320 talk.
I'll allow it.
Yes, and the Wilson Combat slide release and Apex triggers, like I have an Apex trigger on one of my M&Ps, and that trigger is measured in ounces, not pounds.
It's a great trigger, and I keep saying I'm going to buy several of them. I have not done it yet, but I say a lot of things that I'm going to buy and I haven't bought yet because I know I would never have money for anything else.
Says the guy who's on a gun a month club.
You know how hard it is to buy a gun a month? Like, and okay,
I know that's why I didn't commit to it with you.
Like right now, I'm running out of days, and so when Dooley and I get together for John Wick, I'm just thinking I'm going to go down to the local gun shop and buy a 1020 just to keep up.
Oh no! Like I have an app for this. Like, I have a great idea for this.
Okay.
Because you could buy a gun.
Yeah.
Like I have several of these in safes,
What's that?
and a lower is a gun.
Yes, it is. I want a functioning firearm. That was like the whole point. Like 12 guns, 2023. Just buy 12 functioning guns. The way the world's headed, who doesn't want an extra 1022 or a pocket pistol of some sort? I don't think I want to go get one of those credit card ones because it's a one-shot wonder, literally. But it's also kind of neat because I saw a guy Cerakote one like a pack of Marlboro Lights. And I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that's kind of comical.
I think they have 2 bullets in them.
No, you can carry up to like 5, but it's a
okay.
one shot and then reload.
Oh, sure.
So that's why I really like my North American Arms.
Yes. Yes, I can honestly say I saw him get absolutely amazed at North American Arms and did a better job selling them than their salespeople did.
I like their guns. I do enjoy it. And I mean, I will probably buy at least one of them this year in my 12 gun rotation. So excited for that.
All right. Well, as we were just talking about and discussing, I'll break down a couple things that I already talked about. And we're just going to start talking about some basic stuff because there's some definitions that we use. And a lot of these come back to optics.
A lot do, yes.
Yeah. I tried to shy away from the optics because I knew you were going to throw a lot in there.
Well, and part of this came from a conversation that Tyler and I had last week. And it was one of those where it's like, oh, wait, because oh no, this is a prism optic. And then is a prism optic first or second focal plane? Well, it's neither. And that's because of how a prism optic is made.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, like, we did a whole show on prism optics once. And the biggest thing to remember with those is, like, with a traditional rifle scope, you have a whole bunch of lenses. Like, some of them are over 10 lenses, all in a row, like stacked up in different things that, do weird sciencey things with the light to make your eyes see things.
And you basically have variable magnification based on changing the distances in between one or more of those lenses.
Yes. And a prism optic is often not ever adjustable. Like there's 2 adjustable prism optics on the market. But what they are is, if everyone thinks back to grade school when you got a prism, it was that triangle looking thing that, you'd shine a light through it, and it was, like the Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, where the light beam goes in and the rainbow comes out the other side. Like, oh, wow, that's a prism. Okay. Well, it actually gets into more things, which would be more definitions that I'm not going to dive into, because it's like prismatic engagement, which is, you can use a prism as a magnifying glass, and it's just there. So if you etch a reticle onto a magnifying glass, hey, you got it taken care of. And then you just move the whole giant chunk of glass around. So prism optics are often heavier, but more durable than other optics.
Mm-hmm.
But in that, I said 2 other things that people might not be used to hearing. First and second focal plane.
Yeah.
Now, first and second focal plane has to do with rifle scopes, and the easiest way to describe it is, if you're wondering which one you have, if you do not know, a second focal plane rifle optic, when you turn the magnification up, the reticle does not change, meaning that the reticle and everything is exactly the same across all magnifications. that is a second focal plane.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is, as the second place the eye sees, like the second plane as it looks through, is where they place that reticle. So when you run the magnification and move those lenses closer or further apart, depending, none of those things matter. All it does is change the magnification and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a first focal plane, it does change. And that has the etching or imprinting of your reticle on the first focal plane. So it's in the first set of lenses you look through. So as your magnification changes, that reticle will grow and change. Now, the advantages of a first focal plane over a second focal plane is your markings and striations are always the same value, regardless as to what magnification you're at.
And those are usually found on like Christmas tree reticles and things of that nature, correct?
Sometimes. I have a first focal plane that is just a bar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a 1:8 first focal plane optic, and it is a bar with a dot on top of it.
Who makes that one?
That is by a company called Right On.
Oh, yeah, okay, right on. Yeah. I know, yeah.
I see what you did
I
there.
see it in there.
Yep. And that is an incredibly simple first focal plane optic. So it isn't very busy, but it is always the same value for whatever your striations are in.
Which do you prefer? Do you prefer a first or a second? I know you got both, but I mean, everyone's got their go-to.
That's one where it depends on the job. Like straight up, it depends very much so on what I'm using it for. If I'm doing work at distance, then I love a first focal plane. Like that's legit. It's where it's at. They're great. Sometimes for competition, I like the second because they're generally lighter weight. I don't need to know what, how many mils of, wind I'm going to be shooting at a target 100 yards away.
Whoa! What's all this mill talk? What are you talking about?
Okay, next up we'll talk about mils and MOA. But like I figured those would bleed into one another.
Yeah.
But no, it comes down to what kind of reticle you want to use. And when you're running through those things, like even the BDCs and things of that nature, you will see just a straight drop. Like the very first focal plane optic I had was a 4-16 primary arms. And it was a mil dot reticle. And when they say mil dot, that's 100% what it was. It was just a line with dots on it. This is so many mils. And that's what it was. It wasn't a overly complex reticle at all. And so now that I have said mil, anytime you get into shooting, like specifically with optics, you'll see, do you want that in mil or an MOA? So I will cover mil first, and then I will cover MOA. So mil is actually shorthand for a milridian. Now, what's a milridian, Tyler? Do you know?
So I've actually only used, I know what a milridian is, but I've predominantly only used MOA. I actually haven't gotten into anything in the military that I've used at long distance where I've actually had to use it, but I hunt quite a bit. And when I hunt, I just stick with the good old boy MOA or minute of angle.
Well, I'll be honest. I was really waiting for you to do the technical nerd answer.
Nah,
because it is a 1,000th of a radian.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what a milradian is a
No,
mil.
dude, I've been out of engineering for so long. I couldn't even remember that shit anymore.
So like I was waiting for the engineer nerd speak to come in.
No.
And I was like, oh, never mind. He went straight to shooting stuff.
Yeah.
But
I'm old now.
So a milradian is actually a very old way of ranging things. And it had to do with a radian, and it's a mathematical principle. And it gets very interesting because like there's technically 3 different mil scopes that are out right now. And NATO has one, the Warsaw Pact or Soviet countries had another, and then the Swedes had their own, which was slightly different.
Sorry, I'm reading Steven's comment.
So much. That's good.
Bill's radio engineer, no speak beer is good. I spent a week at Fort Stewart, and every time I go to the East Coast, I got to get Yingling because they do not have that here. I hear now they got it in like Kansas City, but it's not made its way north yet. So I had to smuggle a bunch in my suitcase on the way back. And it's a week later, and it's already gone. So I got to go back soon.
Yep.
Good.
So no, it's the easiest way to break it down is there. So in a compass, so in 360 degrees, for the mills that we would use here, there are 6,400 mills in a circle. If you really want to know what that works out to be, is I want to say that it is like 1 mil is 3.6 inches at, depending upon how that goes through. It was sorry, which one you went through, but the common rifle one we use, it is 1 mil is about 3.6, or is just a shade over 3.5 inches at 100 yards. Or wait, did I get that backwards? It's 36 inches at 1,000 yards. So it's 1 yard at 1,000 yards, and it's 3.6 inches at 100. That's what it is, because you have to use yards and not meters.
That's why I don't like the math when I'm shooting. That's why I use BDCs. We'll get into those later.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I like mills. Mills are very handy. I like running them. And they are a solid way of measuring. Because if you have a known object, such as the height of an average man, not the height of the average AR-15 podcast host, but the average human, then you can know exactly how tall they are and use it as a ranger, as a ranging reticle. If you know, like, the average man is 5'9" tall, or I'm trying to remember what it is. It's, if they're 60 inches tall or something like that, then you know that, that's 2.25 mils, so you can use it as a range.
Don't worry, Dooley, you're above average.
We all are in height on this podcast. Like, let's be real when we talk about the average height of the AR-15 podcast host.
Yeah, it's not too often that me at 6'2", 220 pounds is normally the smallest guy in the group. That doesn't normally happen.
Yeah. But so the other common thing that we will see is MOA is the other one that gets put up, and that's what Tyler was talking about, and Garth had kind of mentioned as well. And MOA is just another way of measuring. But what MOA stands for, does anybody know?
Minute of angle.
Correct.
Yes.
Boom.
Correct. Way to go, Garth. You get a
Oh
gold
man, I didn't
star.
get my $200 cash because they say what is.
That's right.
So MOA 1.06 inches at 100 yards.
Yep. And it's 10 inches at 1,000.
Yeah. Just
It is
disregard the 06. Just say an inch at 100.
Yeah, it's very easy to run with that, and it is a very much so finer measurement than you will find from a MRAD or mill optic, but it is still just a way of measuring the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And as odd as it sounds, it is more like in my eyes, it's more like the metric system.
Just add an inch for every 100 yards.
Yeah, you just add zeros.
Yep.
And
No, and that's kind of why I stuck with it. Like, I wish I would have learned more on the MRAD system, but the MOA system was just so easy. And I can gauge easier in 100 yards or football field lengths, and so I just kind of stuck with that.
Mm-hmm. That's why I prefer MOB, minute of barn.
Yeah.
Now, the reason to run a mill over an MOA is because you get more adjustment generally out of a mill than you will an MOA optic.
Okay.
Meaning, if you are doing like I was talking about, where you're going for a mile, and you buy the same optic with the same amount of turns and everything like that, you just have more mechanical capability to drop that further because it is a more coarse adjustment than an MOA is.
Sure.
So it is what the long range shooters prefer more.
That's fair. I will never be one of those nerds, so that's okay.
No, you never say never.
I can 98% sure I will never be one of those nerds.
But it's so much fun.
Again, if you got a math to shoot, it's not fun for me.
You don't really have to math. Like, you've seen me do some long range shooting, and I don't always math.
Yeah, I mean, I can just do holdovers and hope I hit some. Sure.
Well, see, but that's all part of the math.
No, that's guess.
Because like I will put in all the computations and have a computer do all of the math for me, and then I just have like a little card that's taped to my rifle or my forearm that tells me how many clicks I turn.
Oh no, I'm straight up just talking about going from straight out shooting, just arch it up in the air and see if it hits.
We call that Kentucky windage.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Minute of barn.
Yes.
This guy can't hit the broadside barn. Well, give me a couple shots. We'll see.
So as we move on, Tyler, was there another one that you could think of that was common that we have said a lot? Like, I know some of them we say on this show, and the optics ones, those two are a big one because, the three that we've talked about so far, I can only beat to death so much because no one wants to listen to me read an encyclopedia.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's the nature of doing a glossary show by some means.
It is a little bit.
So there is one big one that I wanted to bring up, and I think we've all heard it, and it's probably the worst acronym out there, which is NFA, GFY. NFA stands for National Firearms Act. It was passed on June 26th of 1934. And so basically that's where you got to pay a $200 tax stamp to get your SBRs, short-barreled rifles, your SBSs, your short-barrel shotguns, or your double Ds, which stands for, in this case, destructive devices. Now, Dooley, maybe you have a different story, but from what I understand, the NFA basically stemmed from back in the day was kind of the crime, the gangsters, the mobsters back in the 20s and 30s. Politicians kind of felt that fully automatic machine guns, or they wanted to make full auto guns, and um, the rifles that these criminals were buying and then cutting down so they could more easily fit them into their vehicles. They wanted to make them less accessible, and to get around the fact that they still needed to allow the general public to be able to own these weapons, they enacted the NFA, which the tax stamp, the $200, was actually set in 1934. And back then, $200 equated to more like 4,000. So it was more of a much steeper thing to curtail crime. And then obviously it's really stupid because if somebody's going to go shoot up a bank or shoot at cops, they're probably not going to spend the $4,000 to get their SBR.
Yeah,
So
it was a deterrent then, now just a nuisance.
Yes.
Well,
Yep.
even then it wasn't really meant to be a deterrent. If you go through and read, so I'm going to get on my soapbox for a little bit here, because if you go through and read, they actually tried to ban like all handguns, and
Okay.
like though they were going to ban all handguns, and then it kept going from there. Like the actual testimonies and stuff like that went through, that what they wanted to ban was 10 times more than what they actually did, and then they just did this taxation thing for it. And the
Mhm.
reason behind it is because FDR was a communist and terrible, and then like was an
Democrat.
invalid the last 2 years of his presidency. But when we get into that, because like packing the Supreme Court with justices that will sway your way,
Mhm.
was started by him. That's when you started to see like ruling, or legislating from the bench instead of legislating for the legislature, because you can't get your crazy communist ideals passed anywhere else. But as we move on from that, there were several things that happened, and they claimed a lot of it was for gangsters and the crime, and it was partially because of there was the first national sensation like shooting story was the St. Valentine's Day massacre, and that was it was two rival gangs. They just mowed the other one down, and it was a handful of guys with Tommy guns, and they shot them up, and they're like, "Oh, look at this." Because before June 24th, or was it June 24th or June 26th?
June 26th.
Yep. Oh, then it was effective July because they gave them a month. But
Oh, not 180 days?
yeah, weird. And they went through and they did this, but then they had a grace period that actually went on for a very, very long time. Like even after World War II, it went all the way into the 80s.
Oh, wow.
For like, oh, Grandpa had this gun, that he bought. They would allow you to register it.
Mm-hmm.
But that grace period has closed. So, like, every now and then you'll hear some terrible story about somebody finding like an original Stromgewehr or something like that in Grandpa's footlocker,
Yeah.
and they have to destroy it.
Yeah.
And it's like one of 5 known in existence, but because of arbitrary rules.
Yep.
But
Bullshit.
so the NFA came about, and the reason why short barrel rifles are on there is there's actually an NFA exemption for some short barreled shotguns.
Okay.
And it's like a marble game getter and some other weird stuff. Because they were a pistol with like a 12-inch barrel that did, was a 22 and they called it a 44 bore, but a 410 on top.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And it was a hunting, like, oh, this is, but it was, like it was made for people who went out and trapped, so you could shoot, whatever. But if there was like a bear, you could kill it
Right.
And they had a stock that folded up underneath, so you could use it like a rifle to shoot at something that was a little bit further out.
Okay.
A really, really neat kind of old break action, just a over-under type design.
So you're telling me I need one.
Oh, I saw one like last month. I can't remember if it was a 22 410 or 410 223, but very cool concept gun.
Well, like this, Savage makes one now, a modern incarnation of this, but it's a full length like rifle or shotgun 18-inch barrels, the works.
Yeah.
Sure.
And this was before the Taurus Judge and rifled or not, and etc.
The circuit judge, all that good stuff.
Yeah, this was 1924. I've actually worked on one before. So yeah, that's also where the AOW came up.
Oh, I was gonna say, speaking of weird stuff, that was the other one I forgot to mention.
Yep. Like they made the AOW for this, and AOW
for any other weapon.
And that's a odd like catch-all for. Oh well, what does it do? Well, it's like a knife that gets shot out by CO2 or black powder. Is an AOW.
There's like your Batman, Penguin, cane guns, and
yep, anything that is made to look like another item is an AOW.
Yep.
So like a pen gun.
Would your can gun be registered under that, Tyler?
My what?
No.
Your can shooter?
No, because that has a block in it to not shoot live rounds. So it's not a firearm.
Yeah,
Okay.
so they actually sent that into the NFA. So what he's referring to is I have a
can cannon.
So it's an AR-15 assembly, but it upper assembly, but it shoots tennis balls from my German Shepherd. And so that company, I think it's X Products, actually went to the ATF and acquired one of their super trustworthy letters that says, this is not an actual firearm.
Okay. Just wasn't sure on that one.
Yep.
Yes, because we all know that will be just like set in concrete and there for forever because they have never changed their mind on a letter.
I'm actually going to Cerakote mine like a Nerf gun.
Oh, it's going to be so cool.
I think that's going to be cool as shit. Yeah.
You know what else is cool? VZ grips. The unique features of AR grips machined from G10 is that G10 is great because it's durable and doesn't get slippery when it's covered with mud, blood, or sweat. The 17-degree grip angle and wide variety of textures and colors available, along with shorty versions, 1911 grips, CC grips, revolver grips. These are extremely customizable. Standard slim palm swells, thumb notches, safety cuts, bottom profiles, and more. More than 25 textures and 27 colors are available. This coupon code is good for all handgun and rifle grips and 15% off. And that code is AR-15 pod.
Yeah.
So, no, that is where some of those things came from. And it got kind of crazy with what they had for a while. I can't wait to hear Tyler complain about his new VZ grip. I have one of in my hand.
Why would I complain about it? I'm fucking excited about it.
Because you're going to be like, it hurt my hand. It was too grippy.
Well, I never said that. I like how grippy it is.
You'll be bleeding.
Why did I ended up picking a really severe one or what?
Yes, you did.
The most severe
did I?
one.
Oh, I went off your suggestions.
Yeah, because that's what I like.
Oh.
Remember, I'm the guy with calloused up hands. It's like I don't want it to be able to fall out of my hand.
Yeah. I know you think mine are all smooth and soft, but I do lift, so I got the good calluses going on right now too.
What, the beer you're in your hand right now?
I know, right? Well, I have to get my extra cushy instant asshole just add beer koozie to soften it for me.
You didn't get the one from the SHOT Show on there?
Which one was that?
From Night
Oh.
Vision.
Yeah. The slap band?
Oh, yeah, that one's upstairs.
Okay.
Well, that didn't take us long to derail.
No, not at all.
Sure didn't. All right, quick, throw another one out there.
All right. Hey, we're the AR-15 podcast. What does AR stand for? Tyler, go.
Oh my God. You gonna punch me if I say assault rifle?
No, I just heard it on like CNN 1,800 times today because, I like to watch their commentary.
Stands for Armalite. I was actually like cruising some like gun terminology, like as we were kind of prepping for this. There was one site that actually said AR stood for assault rifle, and I wanted to punch him in the fucking face.
Yep, it was Armalite rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, since we're on the topic, what about like our favorite 308 in the SCAR 17? Do you have any idea what that stands for?
SCAR?
Yeah.
Well, I know what it is because I own one. Dooley, do you know?
No, because it's not my favorite 308.
Gotcha. Squad Combat Assault Rifle.
Correct.
Yep. It is a cool name, though.
Actually, is it squad or is it special?
I was told it was squad.
On the original fielding, and then when it went to civilian market, they went,
you got the North Carolina version. I got the Belgian version.
Yeah.
And then ACR, which also Bushmaster ACR, which came out at the same time, the Advanced Combat Rifle.
Yes, which that was actually, that came from a Magpul design.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, originally it was the Magpul Masada.
Really?
Yeah, and then Bushmaster picked it up, and then didn't really go anywhere, and then everybody thought that, like, oh, Freedom Group in Remington bought this. This is going to go places and be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, I heard it was kind of plagued, like, yeah, I think it was a great idea, just poorly executed, because I heard it had some reliability issues early on, which I think kind of tanked it. And of course, it was simultaneously competing with the SCAR because they came out during the same time frame for the same small arms program, and I think the SCAR just kind of won out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not really a big market for them.
Like, I remember when they came out, I wanted one in the worst way.
Oh yeah. Well, and obviously, like people really liked the design of the ACR. I mean, shit, even SCAR, even the SCARs, they copied that design, so you can get rid of your UGG boot on your SCAR and get one of your get an ACR stock for your SCAR.
Everybody who played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, like that was like that's why everyone wanted one. Let's be real.
Yeah, I tried that for a while. I tried to own every gun or variant of from Modern Warfare 2 to real life, and that got real expensive real quick.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and then I kept replacing firing pins on a Chris Vector for some reason.
Yeah, that was a shitty gun. That was an awful gun.
Horrible gun.
Horrible.
I don't know how they're still. I don't know how they're still making that shit.
I don't know why at all. No, it's stupid.
Well, and there goes our Chris sponsorship.
Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. Like when they first came out, I was pretty gay porn hard for those Vectors because it was in 2008. They came out with a operating system which was, hadn't been seen before, with the bolt that actuated down to counteract the muzzle rise. It was really
it hadn't been cool. It hadn't been seen since like the show.
What?
Oh, the show machine gun. It was a terrible, terrible French design in World War I.
Oh, yes, I remember back in World War I when I used that. Yep.
Yeah, me too. It was actually I remember picking it up in Battlefield 1 when I played that.
But yeah, I mean, it just like, man, I loved everything about it. And then after, I sent it back to the freaking manufacturer for the third time. And I said, hey, what do you guys, there's got to be a remedy for this, yet another issue I have. And they said, nope, we're just going to put new parts on it, which you're going to break in another couple of months anyway. And then after that, I'm like, okay, fuck this. If you guys aren't even going to, fix the deficiencies, I'm not going to keep this. So
No, I'm right there with you. It took me till the third time to break a firing pin, and then I sold it to a buddy who I believe is on his second right now, but he doesn't shoot as much as I do, so I feel bad about that for a little bit. But
well, mine didn't. I don't mean to make this a Chris Vector conversation, but I didn't have the I had an upgraded firing pin, so I didn't have the issues with that. But man, Jesus, I mean everything else you can imagine: bent extractor, freaking cracked housings. Yeah, you name it. It was just bad. Anyway, pick another acronym.
all right.
So let's talk a little bit about ammunition. So there's a ton of acronyms for ammunition. And this is one where I was looking at buying another case or two of ammo today. So I was looking through on some of my wholesalers because I'm not buying just like my normal 223 or 556 or even 9 like range ammo. I was actually buying like, I hate to say like good ammunition.
Good.
I was buying, stuff for extreme accuracy. So I'm going through like reading these things and like, nope, that's not the one I want. And I'm reading all the descriptions and I'm like, man, I know they have it because I bought it here, but oh no, they're out of stock again. Because it's like, oh no, I want the hollow point boat tail because they don't have this. So there's a handful that you'll see all the time in ammunition. And number one is Full Metal Jacket.
Oh,
FMJ.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a movie in the 80s?
Yes.
Yes.
I know.
Okay.
It's a damn good movie. Go watch it.
All right. So from the comments, it's so apropos that we're talking about this. Ball ammo. When you see ball ammo, that means Full Metal Jacket. It is a ball of lead with a copper slug around it. And what M80 ball is just 147 grain. So I want to say it's 147 grain. Full Metal Jacket ammunition.
Sounds right.
Yeah, let's double check.
Yep.
As I furiously Google.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, 144 grain Full Metal Jacket ammunition.
Because in conjunction with that, you can also have AP rounds, which is armor piercing.
Yes, and so what that Full Metal Jacket means is it's not the best round for hunting or defense. Like as you would be led to believe by watching the news. And what that actually does is makes it so that it does not expand as much because it's all contained in a neat little metal package. So it doesn't have like a cavity to expand and get bigger.
Yep.
And that is what I hear furious Googling.
Because you put a hole in the guy, and it's probably it doesn't have to necessarily kill him, but it takes that guy out of the fight, takes his buddy out of the fight who's dragging him back under cover or two, and then it takes the medic out of the fight.
That is not actually the reason why we don't use it in combat.
And it's cheap.
The reason we don't use it in combat is it violates the Hague Treaty. And this is one of those fun facts for you guys. So HP is always meant hollow point, or almost always does. But in the Hague Convention of the Treaty of the Hague, following World War I, where they tried to outlaw shotguns in combat, like the guys who used mustard gas really didn't like the shotgun because it was effective in trenches. So they said that. And then they said, oh, we need to outlaw dum-dum bullets. And the first hollow point ammunition that was done on a large scale was made at the Dum Dum ammunition plant in England. And the Dum Dum ammunition that you had was actually hollow point, and it was designed for aircraft. Because
Okay.
it would hit and make bigger holes
Yep.
or splatter and take out like cables
Sure.
and cause damage. So they said, "Oh, well, this isn't fair to use it because it'll hurt pilots more. So they're civilized. We can't have them do that."
Wow, I thought you were just being a smartass. It actually is called Dum Dum Bullet.
No, I 100%.
I was like, yeah, you really watering this down. Nope. That's just the gun world. Okay.
No, that's the thing. Like that's obscure war history nerd stuff coming out.
Interesting.
Yeah, when you hit 35, you have to get really into like war history or smoking of meats.
Yeah, I've already watched pretty much every fucking World War II documentary in existence.
Yeah, I did not take the meat smoking.
I'm fat. I like food.
But anyways, so that is like as we go into that stuff, that's what that means. And it really is just from that convention is why we don't have hollow point, or why we didn't have hollow point ammunition. And now we do. So, because the Army has declared it to be in common usage, so we will run it. A-pit. So, A-pit, Steve, is something that you will only find in military, and that is armor-piercing incendiary tracer. Or incendiary.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, like, armor-piercing incendiary bullets are fairly common, but to have it included with the tracer just means that you can see it when it goes.
I've only played with tracers once. They were shotgun slugs, and they didn't work that good.
Tracers, like there's a new cool fire tracer I would like to play with more, but tracers generally have a phosphorus tail that gets lit when they get discharged, and then you can see them shoot off in the dark.
There's a new company that came out a couple years ago.
Cool fire.
The cool fire. That's where they got the red stuff on the bottom of the bullet.
Yeah, it wasn't. Cool fire might not have been the right name for it, but they didn't have it wasn't. You weren't burning like red phosphorus.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I never felt like I could see them anyway.
Yeah, well, like you couldn't see them during the day, and it had to be really dark when you shot them.
Yeah. Yep.
I have a set somewhere, or not a set. I have some somewhere, and it was always okay. Let me see here. I was just going through my list to see if we had anything else.
Yeah, I'll pull mine up too.
Again, this is one where it really only matters if you're getting into like really long range stuff, and that's when you see BC for ballistic coefficient. That tells you how good your bullet moves through the air.
Yep.
FFL is obviously federal firearms license.
Yep.
Which
highly recommend you get one.
Which is paired with an SOT, which is commonly referred to incorrectly as a Class 3.
Yeah, I don't need an FFL. Everyone I know has an FFL, so why do I need one?
Fair enough. The other one would be ACP, which is
automatic Colt pistol.
Yep, automatic Colt pistol. You normally see it with the .45 caliber round or
32.
Yep. So one thing to note there, right? Like just because it's 45 caliber, just like 6.8 Creedmoor is very different than 6.8 Special. 45 APC or ACP is very different than 45 Long Colt, which my dad did not understand that like 10 years ago when he bought one of the first Taurus Judges that came out. But as we found, nobody really gives a fuck because the only reason you buy that pistol is because you shoot 410 shotgun shells out of it.
Correct.
Yep. So he ended up buying a pack of ACP, 50 rounds of 45 ACP, and a Taurus Judge, and lo and behold, they did not work.
Well,
with moon clips.
What's that?
Moon clips with a governor, it will.
Yeah, you can run moon clips and have it run.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We just used it to shoot squirrels that were chewing holes through the tarp of the grain trucks. So
yeah, that's fair. I use birdshot a lot on raccoons to get them out of bends, so it's fun.
It is
9mm Luger.
Okay, 9mm Luger, also known as 9x19, also called 9mm Parabellum. All three of these are the same, but that gets into different ammunition stuff because, like as Steven Jackson just pointed out, 380 is also an ACP round, which yes it is, but if you go around the country, you'll see it as 9mm Kurtz, 9mm Browning, and things of that nature as well, because it's actually 9x17. So it's 2 millimeters shorter on the case length than 9x19, which is 9mm Luger. The reason why it's called the 9mm Luger is because one of the first firearms it was used in was a Luger handgun.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I've had several people ask me, like, well, it says Luger on the box. Should I buy it? I'm like, you can buy it. It's I just don't want to trust me.
Yep, I'm just looking through here.
QD is another one. QD simply stands for quick disconnect. You see it a lot on sling points. Highly recommend you get those on your rifle as opposed to, your traditional sling attachments. QD is phenomenal. You can buy one really nice $80 sling and basically transfer it from rifles. You can adjust multiple sling points on one rifle. QD.
Changing slings to guns sounds like changing suppressors to guns. I recommend just buying one for every gun you own.
I can't afford that. Slings.
Here.
When you have funds, go make the things happen.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more that I'm going to talk about because it's one that always bothers me. And that is red dots and holographic sights.
Yep.
An EOTech is not a red dot. And an RMR is not a holographic sight.
This is true.
Like we've talked before about like closed emitter versus open emitter and stuff like that. How a holographic sight works is it has a little laser beam inside that actually projects a hologram onto a screen, or into a viewing area, but it's between two screens.
By screens, you mean glass.
Yeah, glass. And it makes a little hologram. And that's why it is a holographic sight. Whereas a red dot is a dot projected on that's just a constant LED. I mean, you might see them, especially the purest of Chinesium optics, that will have all these different reticles that you can put on there.
Mm-hmm.
Still not a holographic sight.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you pay under $100 for something that has more than two reticles.
There are some decent optics companies coming out with selectable dots, though.
Yes, they are. But they're like selectable dots where you can have different ones, like a traditional dot or a dot in a donut, or something along those lines.
Right.
But they don't all flop around.
Oh, Tyler, I think for your cannon, when you do the Nerf design on it, you
Yeah.
should totally get an NC star and slap it on there.
Oh, yeah.
Just to complete the look.
Complete it.
Yep. True Glow, as Steven said, True Glow has some adjustable stuff and is definitely coming along a long ways from what they were.
Yeah.
And guys, do you have any other ones you want to focus on tonight or cover?
No, I think I'm good because it would just open rabbit holes. So,
Other than that, I mean, most of them are just pretty common. GR for grain, so your weight of your bullet. BAR, Browning automatic assault rifle.
It's Browning automatic rifle.
Sorry, Browning automatic rifle.
Three Nazis walk into a bar.
OD for olive drab. Everybody's favorite curtain color.
Also for outer dimension.
That too, outer diameter. TI for titanium. I mean, that's just the abbreviation of the
SS for stainless steel.
Yep.
FDE,
and
flat dark earth.
Flat dark earth.
Yes.
And that is always different between every single company.
Oh, 100%.
You have 50 shades of FDE.
50 shades of FDE. And that completes my list.
Well, you know what almost completes my list?
What's that?
Keeping people safe. Do you want to keep you and your loved ones safe? If so, especially in these uncertain times, are you looking for a full kit setup or just to upgrade what you already have? Then you need to look at Predator Armor. Quality American-made armor and accessories, not some cheap junk from across the Pacific. From lightweight, flexible backpack armor to full plate carriers with plates, IFAC's set up to save your life. Predator Armor has it all. Use code AR-15-10 for 10% off.
Hells yeah.
You bet.
Yep. CFH, Cold Hammer Forged, which Cold Hammer Forged just means that they take a really powerful hammer and ram it into things.
Dirty.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah. BFG. Big freaking gun.
BFR, the biggest, finest revolver. BMG, like a 50 BMG, stands for 50 Browning machine gun.
Yeah.
Yes, because happiness is a belt-fed weapon.
It is.
If you can't find happiness there, you can also find happiness at Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co, where you can find morale patches, mouse pads. I mean, they call them cleaning kits. Look at this fine patch that came as last month's patch of the month.
For our tens and tens of listeners, Dooley, would you explain it what it looks like?
So if you didn't watch it live, you have your Eilish leprechaun girl sitting on her pot of gold with the AR-18, my little Armalite. And you should look at that if you ever want to find out. Look up the AR-18 in the Troubles. And then, of course, to go with the AR-18, a Taurus pistol, because, well, that's historically accurate. That is 100% a fact. So, do you guys have anything else to add tonight before we start shutting it down?
No, I think we've covered a wide variety of acronyms and explained what they mean. So,
yeah,
good start for a lot of people out there.
Hopefully, we're helpful, not too boring, but that's all I have.
Yeah, I don't have a lot either. I know that as we go through here, We have a couple others. We have some other things coming up that will be kind of cool. And obviously the some of the biggest things are keep an eye out and pay attention because GunCon, the tickets are going on sale for that for people who want to come. We will be there at Brownells with the Gun Collective. We Like Shooting, and a bunch more content creators, like people who probably have more talent than us.
Definitely.
And that is Grinnell, Iowa on June 24 and 25.
June 24th is when they'll have all the panels and everything be going on. So.
Very cool. Yeah, I was there last year. It was a really good time. It was their first one. It was really well put together. A beer garden in their entire parking lot, cigars, bourbon. It was a good time. Plus, seeing a lot of these people that you usually see at like SHOT Show or on YouTube and actually getting to meet them. It was really cool.
Yep. And again, we'll be there if you guys want to come hang out with us for some reason. And at least two of us I know will be there for sure.
Yeah, I got to do Army shit. I won't be there.
Yep. That's okay. I've had to miss out on that myself before.
Yep.
But no, we have that coming up. Guys, stay hounding on your local state legislators. I know that Colorado's trying to pass an assault weapons ban that would pretty much destroy the ability to own an AR there.
Don't let it happen.
Nope. So, yeah, guys, as always, check us out at AR-15 Podcast 2.0 at gmail.com. Drop us a line there if you want, because I'm sure we've pissed some people off or, just want to talk and hang out or whatever online. You can also find us on Facebook, AR-15 Podcast, AR-15 Podcast 2.0 on Instagram. We are on Spotify, iTunes. Check out the network itself at firearmsradio.net. Check out our other great sister shows there, such as We Like Shooting, God and Guns. What else is on there?
Let's Go Hunt.
Let's Go Hunt's on there. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of great shows out there, so go check those guys out as well, please.
Yep. And Tyler, anything else you want to add before we...
Nope. I got nothing tonight. I'm sorry. I'm good.
All right. Well, you folks out there, stay safe and stay armed. Do you want to support the show? Subscribe and interact on social media. AR-15 Podcast on Instagram and YouTube. AR-15 Podcast on Facebook. AR-15 Podcast 2.0 at gmail.com if you just want to drop us a line. Find us online at firearmsradio.net. Click through our sponsors and support the people who support our show. Primary Arms, VZ Grips, Predator Armor, TacPack, and Patriot Patch Company.